Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Cup of Joy. I'm your host, Ariana Joy Christie, and I am so glad that you are here. This is a space to inspire, to learn, to grow, and to challenge. Get ready to fill your cup and spread a little joy along the way. Alexa Schopfer, mom, creator, self-love advocate, and motherhood blogger. Welcome to Your Cup of Joy.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yay. I'm so happy that you're here. I feel like there's so much to talk to you about. And you're a brand new mom again.
Yeah.
So thank you for making the time and for being here. I know that's difficult to do.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad. So I want to start by talking a little bit about motherhood. I know because both of us are kind of going through something similar, I think. And
Oh,
as a
gosh.
mom, I just feel like my view of motherhood was in my head. Like I wanted to be a mom my whole life. In my mind, I was like, this is how it will be. Like this is my goal. This is what I want to do. I just had a vision of what it would feel like and be like. And then it wasn't anything that I ever imagined it
Oh
to
my God.
be, which
Yes.
was kind of like a slap in the face,
Yeah.
if I'm being frank. And so there are just so many pieces that like I really could never have actually imagined or anticipated. Can you maybe share with us a little bit about your motherhood journey and if it was anything like you expected or anticipated or not at all?
Oh man. Yeah. Well, first of all, I got pregnant during the pandemic for the first time. So that's kind of when I started creating because I had no one to talk to. I had no friends who were pregnant or had babies before me. So I was kind of like in this sea alone. And I'm like, hello, is anyone out
Yeah.
there? And so
Yeah.
I started sharing the pregnancy journey. And that was kind of what I expected. Like it's a beautiful, tiring, exhausting journey, but it's your
Yeah.
first. So when you're tired, you can nap. When your feet need to rest, you can put your feet up.
Yeah.
And so the pregnancy kind of gave me a false sense of what motherhood would be like.
Mhm.
And starting at the birth is when I realized, like, oh, whoa, you cannot prepare for this.
Yeah.
Because I read every book, did every course, did every exercise you could do to try and help bring a natural birth. And I had to have an emergency C-section. And that kind of just flipped me on my head because I realized, like, okay, you have no control in this. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what motherhood is. Like, you can't control these tiny little humans. You can try your best to navigate them. But
Mm.
if you have a strict thought in your head of what your schedule is going to be like, oh, honey, your day is going to go the wrong way. You can't control them. So, yeah, motherhood has taught me to just let go of the control and the perfection of it and just kind of learn to go with the flow, which
Mhm.
is difficult because online we see how to be perfect. If you buy this book, you can perfect the toddler stage, but you can't perfect any of it.
Yeah. That's so true. And I love what you said about just kind of going with the flow. As
Mhm.
somebody who is like so A-type like me, I'm never just going with the flow. I love to control a situation. So I think switching that in my mind was so hard. And I remember hearing Julie Cole, who I've had on the podcast before, say like, if you're asking for help or support and somebody is doing it, let them be. Like, let them do it the way that they want. Nobody's getting hurt. Like, if it doesn't interfere with safety, then really who cares?
Yeah.
And I needed to hear that. I needed to be like, okay, like now is the time that we let go because if I'm trying to control everything, I'm not going to be well.
Yes, it's so true. So
Yeah.
true.
It's really hard to manage. So, how did you kind of get to that place where you could be like, okay, like everything's going to be fine?
I think having the third baby here is when I've really kind of come down to that realization that I cannot perfect this. And like you just said, if I'm asking for help and I have all hands on deck and it is not what I envisioned, I can't step in there and say, "Oh, you're doing it wrong." Like, no, no, no. I
Yeah.
asked for the help. I need to step back and be grateful for it. And
Mm.
that's also what I think with the toddler phase, because Abigail and Amalia, my eldest and my middle, are both in the toddler phase right now. And it kind of just hits. And then you're just like, oh my God, what is going on? And,
Yeah.
and I think that's when you learn, like, okay, you got to just chill. Because if they're both freaking out and then I'm like, I'm the mother here, you stop it right now, that's not going to solve anything. And so
No.
when I just am like, all right, you know what? You want to play with that and you want to do that? That's fine. But you know what? We have to clean, like just try and
Yeah.
ease it a little bit.
Yeah. I started to shift in my mind too, like understand why I was saying no. Cause sometimes I think I would say no just because maybe that was like something that in my mind was more socially acceptable, or like,
Yeah.
oh, that might make a mess. So like, no. But
Yes.
if my kids wanted to do it and it wasn't going to hurt anybody, like a mess can be cleaned.
Yeah.
And like, oh, maybe that toy's not supposed to be played with in that way, but is it harming anyone? No, it's like showing them creativity and thinking outside of the box. So I
Right.
really had to like change my mindset and maybe like an old school mentality of thinking like, no, don't do that because I said no. And
Totally.
change it to be, okay, what are they trying to do? Maybe I can learn from them. Maybe we can do this because no one's getting hurt.
It is so true. Yeah, changing the narrative, I think, is the best thing you can do as a mom. Once
Hmm.
you're able to shift your narrative in your head, things become a lot easier and
Yeah.
you don't have that outcome that you just need to get to. It's just like, whatever. No one's getting hurt. Everyone's happy. Just leave it.
Yes, agreed. But I think it is okay to sometimes be a little bit disappointed because I'm in my office today and I was just talking to one of the other realtors down the hall, and we were talking about Christmas time, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like I was putting up my tree this weekend, and you know, it was something. There's really something to be said about how we envision it in one way, like the Christmas tree, for example. Like I have two toddlers also, and then a daughter who's basically a toddler too, and put like I envisioned that we would all have our matching pajamas on and we would drink some hot chocolate and we'd play Christmas music and it would be like this really fun like how I as a married person without kids would be putting the tree together, and
Totally.
it's not that. Like our tree still not is not decorated.
Or like the bottom half is empty and the top is nice. That's ours.
Nobody's taking turns. We're not talking
Yeah.
about the meaning behind the ornaments. Like
Yes. Yes.
it's
No.
not what I thought it would be.
No.
And I think that that's okay. Like, it's okay to just embrace, like, this is our life right now. And some year it will be back to that. But right
Yeah.
now it's not.
Yeah. That is so true. And Andrew and I, my husband, were saying the other night, we have not had like a sit down family meal in a long time. And my dad came over from Austria when Ace was 2 weeks old to kind of like help out.
Oh,
And every night he'd make us dinner. And when I was growing up, we would all sit down and have our meals together. But I don't think my dad remembers when it was like the toddler phase. And so he's like sitting there waiting. All right, guys, well, I'll eat now. And then you guys eat later. And we're like, yeah, Dad, just go for it. We're going to bathe the kids. And I was saying to Andrew, like, man, it will be so nice and we can all just sit down and
yeah.
everyone's just sitting and eating. But right now, everyone's just chaotically running around and we'll miss that, which is just so crazy, but we totally
Yeah.
will.
That's so true. And I think just embracing it and knowing that, like, it will be different at a different stage. Like, every
Yeah.
stage is different. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I sometimes have guilt of, like, oh, we didn't have dinner at the table tonight,
I
And
know.
it's hard managing activities, schedules, people's preferences, like timing. If somebody is feeling like they need a little bit of extra time reading a book or something, like you want to, it's hard to navigate everybody's needs when you have
Yeah.
more than one.
100%. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I also find, like, on the flip side, apart from the kids, one of the hardest things that I've experienced from becoming a mom is losing my identity, like
Mm-hmm.
I outside of a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Because being a mom is something that I always wanted. Like from when I was a kid, like what do you want to be when you grow up? Like I want to be a mom. I knew I
Yeah.
wanted to have kids. Um but like I was the person that was like when I got pregnant, I was buying all like the mama shirts and like I wanted that was like my whole identity and I was very very excited about it and I still am. Like I'm obviously grateful to be a mom, but I think I lost who I was outside of that. And it's like my mission right now to kind of regain that, like figure out who I am, what I like to do, um, apart from being a mom, which is
Yeah.
equally as important. Have you experienced that at all? Like
Oh,
your
totally.
own identity outside of motherhood?
100%. So when I had my eldest daughter, I didn't find it as much because it was easy for me to schedule my needs into our schedule together as a couple. So
Hmm.
when Andrew would come home, he could easily take her and I could go to the gym or do something. So it was a little bit easier. And then as my second daughter came, Abigail, that's when I really woke up. Like I had a C-section, again, an unplanned emergency C-section. And the day after the surgery, I woke up and did my makeup. And it's not because I felt good. Like it was a 16-hour unmedicated labor. So it was just,
Oh,
I felt like I was hit by a truck. And I
yeah.
knew I have to start doing something for me because if I don't get into this habit, I won't be able to fit it into my schedule and I'll lose that part of me. And so for me, getting dressed is my identity. Like ever since I was a little girl, I'd go into my aunt's closet when we'd be over at her house and put on her boots and her dresses. Like it's just always been something
Aw,
I love.
I love that.
Thank you. And so, yeah, that was the one way that I really started filling my cup. And then that's how I shared it because I realized, like, guys, when I get dressed, I feel productive. I'm able to take on the day. And on the days when I don't get dressed, it's just like a rot day, which is perfect. We all need that. But I really noticed my own needs were met when I took charge and put myself first. But it's definitely something that you have to be on top of, or else you will lose that little part of yourself. Like, I don't know how you wouldn't lose a part of yourself. You're giving everything to your children, and it's hard
Everything,
to
yeah.
reap stuff back, because at this stage, they're meant to just take from you. Like, they're meant to feed off of you and grow and learn.
Yeah, that's so true, but I love what you're saying about prioritizing it. Like, I think that's where it's so easy to say, like, "Oh, I'm too busy,"
Oh,
or like,
yeah.
"Oh, I don't have energy," or, "Oh, I'm too tired," because all of those things are true literally all the time.
Yeah. 100%.
But I think when you really prioritize that, and like you said, like, if it's doing your makeup, if it's doing your hair, if it's, like, taking a shower, to me was, like, such a luxury in those
Yeah.
early days, and taking a couple extra minutes, like, it wasn't harming anybody, it made me feel good, and I think it's yeah, prioritizing it can be very difficult, but so important.
Yeah, it's necessary. And there was actually a study done because I was looking into this, like, okay, am I crazy? Am I the only one? But there was a study, I forget, it was in like the Sociology Journal of Psychology or something, and it's called Enclosed Cognition. And there is a factual study based on the way you dress and the way you look has a immediate reaction to your productivity, the way you feel about yourself. And so it is, and I think that this is so true in the workforce as well. Like, if you're going in for a big meeting, you're not going to wear sweatpants. You're going to put on your blazer, you're going to feel empowered, you want to look presentable. And when you go into that boardroom, you feel powerful and
Yeah.
successful and like you can handle the day. And so for me personally, it really does have that effect on myself within my own boardroom, the house.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's like when you, like, randomly are having a good hair day, you're like, "Oh, like, you have a pep in your step, you feel good."
Totally. Yes, it's so true.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it is very important, and it's something that, um, putting on your makeup can sound so small, but I think it really does have such big impact. So, yeah,
100%.
prioritizing it is so important, and if it's not makeup for you, maybe it's something else, but I think that that is so beautiful in
Yeah.
itself to really just, like, take hold of something that's meaningful to you. Um, what are maybe the biggest challenges then that you find in creating time to prioritize yourself and also in motherhood and your own needs?
Oh man, the balance I think is the hardest thing because with balance, I always say you have to be able to let go in order to level out the scale. And so if I don't get up before the kids and I'm trying to get myself dressed, I have to let go of that perfect idea that the kids will sit and play while I'm no, are you kidding me? They're gonna be like Abigail was cleaning the inside of the toilet bowl the one morning and I'm just like, oh great, that's my face cloth. Thank you, darling. And so
Oh my
you have
gosh.
to you have to let go. And like you said, they're not harming anyone. So it's okay. I'm filling my cup right now and they're filling theirs in whatever strange way. But as long as everyone's happy, safe, and secure, then it doesn't matter. So, yeah, definitely the balance of letting things go
Mm.
and also trying not to control everything around you. Like, if you need to fill your cup and you have to wake up early to fill your cup and get the kids ready for school and everything, that is a lot. And if that's going to put you in a bad mood, again, let go of some things and focus on just 3 points that will help you fill your cup and get ready for the day.
I love that. I think the way that my mind works is not healthy because I'm always thinking in extremes. Like, I'm always like, either I have to do everything or I'm going to do nothing. Like,
Yep.
either
Yeah.
I'm going to really go for it or just not do anything at all. And I have really tried to be less like that. So, like, getting back to the gym, for example, has been like a big thing for me. I think I just kind of let go of that because things were busy. And I
Totally.
know that I'm in a better headspace if I'm moving my body in some capacity.
For
So I
sure.
started to say, like, in my head, it was like, okay, if I'm going to go to the gym, I need like an hour and 15 minutes at least because I need time to drive to the gym, put on my running shoes, like go into the gym,
Yeah.
leave. And then I was like, no, like if I have half an hour, I can still be productive in that half an hour. And that still gives me the same like good mental space that I've done something for myself. So, like releasing the need to do everything perfectly and just doing a little bit has been like a huge game changer for me. If it's going to be a 10-minute walk, that's totally fine. Like at least I got some air and
Yeah.
moved my body, you know?
Yeah. It's so true.
Thinking of it in a smaller capacity is I
Yeah.
think important.
And to that notion, I think that when we think of like, okay, I need to fill my cup, I need 12 hours to do this and this, and then my cup will overflow. We have to think of like little increments. Like it may
Yes.
not be full right after, but if we keep doing these little things, we'll have a full cup at the end of the week. And so,
Oh,
yeah, we just have to kind of take it day by day. Don't just focus on, okay, we need to fill it now and be
I
happy
love
with it.
that. Yeah, I love that so much. And you talked a little bit about balance too, which is very intriguing for me because I know motherhood has so many components, and a lot of times people do talk about like, oh, I just want to find balance. Like I remember going to therapy one time after having the twins and being
Yeah.
like, I just need to find balance and then I'll be okay. And my therapist laughed at me and I was like, excuse me, like you can't laugh at me. And she was like, I'm just laughing because you're searching for something that isn't achievable. Like you're never going to have quote balance because no two things will ever be equal. Something is always going to give and something is always going to take at least a little bit, and that is okay. And so it really changed my mindset. So, how what's your take on balance? How do you try to find that? What does that look like for you?
That's really interesting because, yeah, she's really looking at it in a literal sense of like, you
Yeah.
really want the scale to be even.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm always Delulu. Like, I'm not, like I kind of am half there sometimes. And so my balance is kind of like this. Like, the kids are always going to have more, but even if I'm just a little bit full,
Yeah.
we're close to being even. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I do think that with motherhood, you kind of have to have a sense of humor and a
Yeah.
of reality that like of course
Mm.
it's not going to be even like your kids, especially having twins, like that takes so much out of you, and that being your first round in motherhood, having to like,
Mm.
oh my gosh. And so, yeah, no, it's never going to be a literal balance beam of even drawing boards, but again, just taking it day by day and doing the little things of filling your cup, I think that is balance because although it's not a full cup and you're still exhausted and there's a million things at the end of the day, you've done one thing for you. And that's why I like doing my makeup, because I start the day with filling my cup first
Mm.
versus if I go to the gym at the end of the day, that's amazing and I feel great at the end of the day. But I'm like waiting all day to get to that point. And so
Yeah.
waking up and doing something for me, I found made myself feel like, okay, I did something for me. Now I can share with you guys. Like, what can I help you with? And
Yeah.
when Abigail was little, I would get up early and read my Bible and do my journals and set my intentions for the day. And it was like amazing. I loved having those 2 hours to myself, but that's so impossible now. Like I got up early last week and it was amazing, but it was just luck of the draw. Everyone was still sleeping. I was able to do it. So I can't plan for that. So when I
Mm.
wake up now, the kids are usually up with me and I'm like, all right, mama's going to get ready. Let's go into the bathroom. They'll be playing with my makeup or playing in the bathtub or something, but we're all happy. And that's all that I can ask for. And that's my balance, I guess.
I love that. I love that so much. And that is part of self-care. Self-care is something for me that has been a huge topic lately.
Hmm.
That's kind of top of mind. And because I think I just wasn't prioritizing any of it. Like to the point where if I had to pee, but like someone needed something, I would like wait until I like really was gonna like pee my
Yeah.
pants. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like I would never let any of my friends or people that I love like do that to themselves, but somehow it's okay for me to like not even take care of my completely basic needs.
Yeah.
And so I'm really trying to change that and trying to, like you said, like fill my cup, even if it's little bits at a time. Um, is self-care something that you've always prioritized? Did it kind of come after becoming a mom? How did that come about for you?
No, it's definitely something that's in me. Like my mom is the same way. So I grew up with
Oh,
her putting her curlers in, and I'd be sitting there putting on blush or something, So I did grow up
aw.
with her as my role model in presenting yourself the way you want to feel, I guess. And so when I look good or when I feel good, when I look good, I feel good. And when I was in high school, I was actually thinking about this. When people would go to school in like their pajamas and it would be cool to do that. I remember doing that and I was like, I felt awful all day. Sorry, I'm just going to
Aw. Yeah, of course.
and hello, Ace. Wants to
Hi.
be in on the combo. Um, But yeah, when I would go to school in my PJs, I didn't do it often because I thought like, oh my God, I felt awful all day. I felt tired. I didn't like looking in the mirror. I have naturally curly hair and I didn't know how to style it sometimes when it was curly. And so like I literally roll out of bed and go to school thinking that's like the trend. And I realized, okay, this is not how I want to feel when I go like this. So that's kind of when I started like, okay, I feel good when I take the time to do my hair and makeup. And later on down the road, I was in aesthetic sales. And so my whole
Oh,
lifestyle was around selling skincare and beauty. And you want to look the part when you're doing that. And
yeah.
honestly, I felt so happy doing that because, yeah, every morning I
Oh,
wake up, put new makeup on. It's exciting. It's like a palette for me to just paint my face, you know?
that's amazing. I love it, and I love that you've found something for you that makes you feel good.
Yeah. And
Um,
sorry,
no, go ahead.
I just think that that is the one important thing as a mom. Oh, buddy.
Oh,
You okay? That's the one important thing as a mom is learning what fills your cup and not extreme things like tiny little things, even if it's a walk, like go out and do that
yeah.
5 minute walk, just fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Make
I think for me, like, the message I want people to know is that what makes me happy and fills my cup does not have to make you happy and fill your cup.
totally.
Like, everybody can be different. It can be something silly, it can be something big, like, it really can be anything. Like, sometimes it's literally just drinking a warm coffee for me. It
Yes.
feels like a hug. Like, it
Yes.
really can be anything, but just finding the happiness and joy in those and acknowledging it. Like, "Hey, now is a time that I'm doing something for myself, even if it's just a couple
Yeah.
minutes."
Okay, you know what? That's a really good point because I think that we need to remind ourselves to be grateful. And it sounds silly, but when we have those 5 minutes of peace, really, really take that in because you don't know
Yes.
when you'll get it again. And it's not something to be afraid of. It's just the reality of motherhood in
Mhm.
this season of life. It's not meant for us to really be enjoying ourselves. It's meant for
The
us
whole
to be
time, yeah.
helping, yeah, helping our kids enjoy themselves. But when we get those moments of bliss, just like take a minute and really soak it in because I think that helps us later on down the day remember, okay, I was able to have a second to myself. I had
Agreed.
moments.
I definitely agree with that. Besides makeup, what is your favorite way to practice self-care?
Honestly, lately it's been a warm coffee because we have one of those like old percolators that you sit on the stove and you have to turn it on. It's like a whole ordeal. And that is meditative for me.
Oh, I love.
Yeah, and again, it's just so little. Like someone who doesn't have kids is probably like, "Oh, this poor girl," but you know, that's my way. But no, honestly, because I just have to be realistic with myself. I'm like, if I could go to spin every day, that would probably be a way that I could fill my cup because I'm releasing so much. I get into a meditative state. Like it's a whole experience for me. But
Mhm.
I can't do that all the time. And so
Yeah,
yeah, to make a coffee every day and some days, if it can be in peace, like even if the kids are just sitting on the couch watching TV, but everyone's happy and quiet, I'm like, thank you.
yeah. It is the best when you get that moment, and
Yes.
those moments come more often as they get older too, I'm finding,
Oh, I love
which is
that.
kind of cool, yeah, when they
Yeah.
start playing by themselves. Um, I wanna talk a little bit about hobbies too, because in kind of losing who I was and what I was doing, I really just, like, lost track of things that I love to do in terms of hobbies. Like, hot
Yeah.
coffee, great, getting ready, amazing, but, like, what do I like to do, like, outside of the house? Or if it's inside the house, like, what do I like to do just for me that takes my time? And I realized that, like, I used to love to play the guitar, and I had not played or opened up, like, my guitar case since before having my babies. Like, it was
Oh,
just something that I lost because you're busy. It's so busy. It's not
yeah,
because I was like, "Oh, I can't do something that I like to do." I
totally.
just stopped. Or playing soccer, like, I just started playing soccer again this
Yeah.
past year, and that's, like, huge for me because it's,
Yeah,
like,
it's so
something that
healing.
I love to do that I just stopped. So, like, why do that? So, my question for you is, are there any hobbies that you have recently or want to maybe rediscover or newly discover?
Oh man, there are so many hobbies. And I feel like I'm the type of person where I like hyper fixate on so many things that I
Mm.
just get lost. There's like a million of them in a big bubble in my head. But yeah, one of the biggest ones, I wrote a children's book when Amalia was little, and I have it
Oh,
like it's all written out, but I'm doing the illustrations. And so it's taken 3 years now. And
wow.
Amalia actually pulled it out of the closet the other day. And she's like, look at these pictures. And I'm like, oh God, I know. And so it's one of those things where it's like
Oh,
sad, you know, I thought I'd get it done, but it's just sitting there. And so definitely drawing. And I'm not good at drawing, but it was a form of pleasure for me, a little bit of
yeah.
meditation, you know.
Yeah.
but also working out. Like I loved going to the gym. Spin has been great for that because you're getting a really good workout in a short amount of time.
Mhm.
But yeah, going to the gym with Andrew, I think, was probably the best
Oh,
hobby. Yeah, because we loved working out together. When we were both working, we'd go to the gym at 4 a.m., the two of us. And
oh.
it wasn't really what we wanted to do because it was super early, but we knew if we did at the end of the day, we'd feel like caca all day. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that would be nice. But I know at this period in time, we both can't go to the gym. We can't ask someone to watch all three kids. So, like, we have to kind of divide and conquer.
Mhm. But you'll get back there, and I think it's good
Totally.
to have those, like, goals in your mind too of these are things that I love and I wanna get back to.
Yes, and sorry, on that notion, I have been going back to spin. So that has been one thing that I've been able to kind of do. My one hobby that's
Amazing.
slowly coming back. Yeah.
I love that, and you
Thank
should be
you.
proud of yourself for that, like, those are
Oh, I do.
amazing things to do.
Thank you. And I want to hear you on the guitar because that
Oh
is
my gosh.
awesome. And your kids would love that.
They do, and you know what? My mom plays with them, it's so sweet, but I'm like, "Yeah, why do I not get back to that?" So, it's on
Yeah,
my list of things to do.
I love it.
What advice maybe would you give moms who are feeling guilty about prioritizing themselves?
Oh, don't feel guilty. Okay, so if you have an empty cup, you have nothing to pour into your children's. And we all know when you're on an airplane, you have to put your oxygen mask on first. And so do not feel guilty because you need to feel like yourself and have that sparkle and pep to your step. So prioritize putting yourself first and not in a big way, tiny little steps. Take it day by day. And each day it will be different. You don't know
Mhm.
what your days will hold. So don't plan too much. Honestly, for me, I wake up and I'm like, all right, how are we doing? How's the mood of everyone? How can I do this? And then,
Yeah,
yeah, and then you
totally.
prioritize it.
That's amazing. Is mom guilt something that you experience? Because for me, it was something I didn't understand until it happened, and then I was like, "Oh my," like, even taking a shower. Like, if
Yeah,
I can hear a child crying and I'm in the shower, like, probably I'll get out of the shower with shampoo in my hair,
totally. Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
It's like this crazy guilty feeling if you ever, like, ignore it or
Yeah.
something. So, do you have this? How do you cope with it?
Oh man, every night. Sorry. Every night I think that I have it because I lay in bed and I'm like, oh God, did I spend enough time with Abigail? Amalia was talking to me and I was holding Ace and she's only 3. I need to make sure that oh my God, every single day. And then I tell myself, are you insane? Stop it. Like you're
Yeah.
going to make yourself go crazy thinking about all the
Yeah.
things I should have done. And so I often am talking to myself like 24/7 in my head because I have this ping pong game of my own two selves. Like, you're not good enough. Yes, you are,
Yeah.
and I'll just remind myself if I spend every day thinking of all of the things I should have done and feeling guilty over it, I'll drive myself insane. And so I'll go through what did I do today for Amalia? What did I do for Abigail? Wow, that was a really fun day,
Oh.
And so again, it's just shifting the narrative. And I think that we
Mhm.
have to do that because on social media, we're constantly comparing. And that's the way that it's designed. Swipe like, swipe don't like. And so we do
Yeah.
that to ourselves. And so we have to shift that narrative and remind ourselves of all the good things that we're doing, all the positive things our children are doing, or else, yeah, it will be a difficult time.
Yeah, it is really hard, but I like what you're saying about switching it to be more positive and thinking about the good things because I do that all the time too, especially with the twins. Like one is more outgoing than the other and requires more uh like he's just harder.
Yeah.
So he gets more attention by default. And often I'll go to bed and think, "Oh, like did I give Axel enough attention? Does he know that he's loved?" And I would drive myself crazy every night thinking that. And now I really try to focus like, okay, my kids know that they're loved. Like of
Yeah.
course they do. These are the things I did with them. But I think that the reflection piece is so important
Mm-hmm.
and
100%.
changes that for sure.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Oh man.
I wanna switch gears a little bit because I
Yeah.
wanna talk about something that's kinda trendy online that I know you are a part of,
Tell
and
me.
that's homesteading.
Oh yeah.
So I know it's not, like, real off the grid homesteading, but this is, like, this big thing that I keep seeing online. Um, Homemade things, natural things. And I've been seeing these really funny videos of like, oh no, guys, like if your wife is making sourdough, like watch out because then you're gonna make butter and then you're gonna get chickens and then you're gonna get a cow. And I'm
Yes.
like,
Oh man.
okay, my life goal, like
Yeah.
hello, I'm part of this.
Yeah.
But I know that you participate in creating sourdough. I know you bake and cook
Yeah.
a lot from scratch. You even do like tallow for
Yeah.
skincare. I you have chickens. I
Yeah,
love all that you do.
thank you.
Um, so how did this come about for you? Were you always like kind of into this, like from scratch, make on your own kind of person, or is this new?
Yeah, I would say the extent that I'm at now, it's new. And I think it just goes with the natural environment. Like it's
Mm,
difficult to know what's in our food, what's healthy for us. We're getting so many mixed messages. And with Amalia, I started her right on baby pablum or baby cereal when that was like her first food she ate. And so I really went with kind of what I grew up doing. And then it was fine, like no big issues. But then with
yeah.
Abigail, she was born with eczema. And so
Mm,
I was using all the baby eczema products I could find and it would work. And then I'd stop using them thinking like, okay, finally the eczema's gone. And then it would come back. And so I was thinking, what is going on here? Like, what would our grandparents have used back in the day without like all of the added stuff? And then that's when I found beef tallow. And so it makes so much sense because even if I'm cooking and I've leftover butter, I'll like rub it into my hands and my hands will feel so good afterwards. And
mm.
so then I went and got beef tallow, and Andrew was like, man, this is crazy, but okay. And I used it, and I swear to you, 24 hours later, the eczema on her leg was so much smoother. The redness had completely gone down. Like it took away
Crazy.
so much inflammation. And Amalia, she had a little bit of stomach issues, and she would constantly get diaper rash. And
Mm,
with her, the diaper creams, it would take like forever for the rash to go away. And you would just be putting it on mostly to coat it. And so then I started using the tallow on her. Next morning, her rash would be gone. Like it was just, yeah, it was
crazy.
crazy. And it was amazing. And it makes so much sense because
Mhm.
it's high in zinc, vitamin A. So it just makes sense that it's working. And then from the beef tallow, I kind of looked into the food and I was thinking like, okay, what's in baby cereal? Maybe I don't want to do that. Let's try bone marrow with Abigail. So her first food was whipped bone marrow. And then from there, I just kind of went on to bone broth and then I make the marrow chicken nuggets. And yeah, it's kind of spiraled. And so now I'm very cautious when I'm buying things. Like I really look into the labels and stuff. And I know Canada's good. Like they use a lot of natural food dyes, but even the food dyes, I'm thinking of natural ways we can have them in the kids' food and stuff.
That's amazing. And do you talk to your kids about it, or is it just something that you're like, "This is just our life"?
No, I do talk to the kids about it because all the good food, all the fun food is at their level. So they'll say like, "Oh wow, look at that cereal," and I'll say like, "No, it's really high in sugar. Let's make our own cereal." And Amalia was eating a cucumber once, and she goes, "This has no sugar in it." Apparently, Andrew had told her that. I'm like, "Oh, maybe we should cut back on how much you're telling you."
That's so, so funny. It's true because there's, like, convenience and then there's health, and, yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle of that because, if my kids are crying in the car, I'll throw them a bear paw, and I
Oh,
have no
100%.
shame in that,
Yeah.
but I do like to make their crackers at home or their bread too, and so
Yeah,
I think that there's balance, and it is fun too. Like, I think it's for me, I feel accomplished when I've made something with my hands and I can
totally.
see it and I can see the benefit of it.
Yes. And on that same notion of balance, I 100% the girls eat McDonald's and they'll have their own cookies and stuff, but because we're home all the time, I just think I have the time, I have the
Mhm.
knowledge, why not just put it towards this? So it's not that they don't ever eat food dye and sugar like 100%. I
Yeah.
love me a Big Mac every once in a while too.
Yes, it's all about the balance, but I love that. So tell me about the chickens.
Oh, okay. So my sister got Amalia these silky chickens for her birthday because Amalia is just obsessed with chickens.
Wait, it was a birthday present from your sister?
Yeah, she did ask. She did ask.
I was like, "No way."
Yeah, but they're amazing. Like they're like little cats, honestly. Oh, they only just
Aw,
started laying eggs. We get one. There's two of them and only one lays the eggs.
wow.
And so yeah, they're really just like cats. You just have to look after them and pet them. But now that we're getting an egg, it's kind of like, thank you. You're giving back to us.
That is so cool, and I think it really teaches kids too, like, they understand,
Yeah.
like, taking care of something that is living, also food production,
Totally.
like, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's been nice for them, like in the morning, instead of sitting in front of the TV, go check on the chickens. They'll go out, spend time with them. Like, honestly, it's just, I know, I wish we lived on a farm because it would just be
Yeah.
so nice to go out every morning with the animals.
It's so, so cool. Do you aspire to have anything more or do any more kind of in that homestead realm?
Yeah, I aspire to have more land. That would be nice. And then
Mm,
from that, we can go from there. But we live in Canada, so it's hard.
it is hard, I know.
Maybe one day. We'll win
Yeah.
the lottery.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love it. And so when it comes to my sourdough, like if I'm baking bread or anything like that, I always get the comments of people, even like in my life, saying like, "How do you do it all? Like, why are you adding something more to your plate?" So I'm intrigued to hear your take on that.
Oh, well, honestly, you inspire me because to see you
Oh,
work, no, honestly, like you're just amazing with the amount that you work, your kids, extracurricular, and then your sourdough. And
thanks
I
for
know
saying that.
you would love chickens too. That'll be next on
I
my list.
It's my goal. It's literally my life goal.
I love it. But for me, it's just a nice routine. Like, again, that's how I fill my cup. I'm able to
Mm.
have the bread that I enjoy eating and make time for it. And honestly, it's messy. Like, some mornings I'll be making sourdough, and Abigail's behind me with the bag of flour over her head. Like,
Oh,
it's
no.
a tornado. But I'm like, you know what? I'm happy right now. We'll get to that in a second. And yeah, so honestly, I think it's just I enjoy doing it. And if I didn't
Mhm.
enjoy doing it, I wouldn't be doing it. I'd be buying it.
Yes, I think that that is the whole thing for me too. Like the perception from the outside is like, "Oh, why are you adding something more to your plate to
Mhm.
do?" But for me, that's like one of the things that are like my hobby. Like that's something that I do. It's how I unwind. Scoring sourdough is like just so peaceful to me.
Yes.
So I think it all depends on the person
Yeah.
and yeah, for me it's selfish. I love it.
Yeah.
Um I'm also intrigued to know your take on the saying, "It takes a village."
Oh man, it does take a village. And I feel kind of for our generation because COVID really cut that village in half and it
Yeah.
made us fear the village. My grandfather lives in Austria and he was saying he has never felt so lonely. And during the
Oh.
war, you would hide in the bunker and you'd have cake with your family and you'd laugh with your family. With COVID, you'd sit alone in your room and call, and maybe if they answer, you'd be able to speak to family. But yeah, it was really isolating.
Oh,
And having a baby in COVID made me really nervous because although I had Abigail in 2021, COVID was kind of fading out a little bit. It made it difficult because although it was fading out, you still didn't know, is this contagious to babies? How do I know if someone has it? Like, yeah.
yeah.
So I really think that it does take a village, but I also believe that we have to have a lot of empathy for a lot of people who don't have the village and
Mhm.
realistic ways that you can help yourself when you don't have the village. And actually, I'll answer that myself because on days when I don't have village, like I have my mom and my cousin. Those are like the two people who can really help me. And my cousin lives an hour and a half away, and my mom
Yeah.
is not that close. And also, she has a life and stuff. So I can't expect her, like when I'm drowning, to just like be there. And so on days when I am just so overwhelmed and I feel like I'm drowning, I have to let go of so many things. Like the dishes can wait, the laundry can wait. I'm not in a good mood if I focus on those things and then my kids come to me, I'm going to snap at them. And then
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm going to lay in bed and think like, "Oh, I'm such a bad mom. Like why'd I do that?" And so
Mhm.
I let go of the things that won't fill me in return, as strange as that sounds, but I know playing with the kids, they'll make me happy and their
Mm.
laughter will make me laugh. And so I again am learning to shift the narrative and
Yeah.
figure out ways that will help me shift that narrative.
I love that so much, and I think that the mindset is everything, like, that is so, so important, and you're right, like, not everybody has a village in the way that sometimes they think about it. I think
Totally.
it's important to find what feels supportive to you,
Yes.
and I've always said too that your village can be like the person that you see at the park every day that you just say
Yeah.
hi to, and that kind of
Sure.
gives you a smile. Or we drive a different way to school because there's a crossing guard that one time said hi to our kids. So now they say hi to the crossing guard in the
Uh-huh.
morning.
And didn't you
And
make
like
them
that's
smile?
part of our village, you know?
Okay.
Like I think there are ways that like all I know is his name and that he's there Monday to Friday unless it's a beanie day, but like that really has become part of our routine. And so it's not like the traditional sense of a village. He's not coming to our house and like doing our dishes for us,
Yeah,
but that little smile that it puts on the kid's face or even my own is like I think a benefit and something that
totally.
becomes part of that. So um yeah, I think that there's ways to kind of change the whole mindset
Oh, for
of a
sure.
village.
Yeah, 100%.
And I just believe that like families were not meant to be raised by themselves.
Oh,
you know? If
no.
you can find, like, people around or friends or go to the park at the same time and you run into the same people, like, their community is so, so important and has helped, like, my mental health tremendously
Yeah.
through motherhood.
Yeah, no, you are entirely right. If we try and do this alone, we'll fail because we're not meant to do this alone. Like it takes two people to make a child. It takes more
Yeah.
than one person to raise it, you know? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's so important to find that village and also ask for help. And like
Mm.
we said earlier, don't try and dictate the outcome of the help. Like ask for help,
Yes.
leave it. Be grateful that you have it. Yeah.
And if you're a control freak like me, it's harder than it looks, but
Yes.
much easier said than done. But you're right. Like, teaching yourself to just let go a little bit is so valuable.
Totally.
I'm a huge believer that there's connection in storytelling.
Oh
I've
yeah.
believed that since the moment I had my children. And sometimes, like, it's important to know that you're not alone if people are sharing or if you're sharing, to just know that you're not the only one having those feelings or that experience, I think is so important and validating and helpful and gives you a sense of community. So I know that you also share that that's important to you. How has storytelling helped you connect with other moms and even create maybe a sense of community for you personally and maybe for others?
Oh man. Well, the sense of community is really nice because for the longest time, like knock on wood, Amalia and Abigail are finally going to sleep now, like on their own. But
Oh.
man, when I tell you, it took so long. Like Andrew would have to lay in there for hours. And by I mean recently, like this past week. That's why I'm praying to God. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I think it's the shift of Ace coming in and I was pregnant and in the hospital. You know, like there's a lot that we're not thinking about that shifted their whole world. And so they're
Yeah,
trying to grasp onto us. So
totally.
yeah, for the longest time they weren't sleeping. And my mom just like trying to help us out because she's like, you guys can't live like this. She would send me like article after article, how to get your children to sleep. And I can't read those because I will go blue in the face trying to get all that information and put it back out there. But I know that I'm not going to do it right, you know. So for me right now, it's just easier not to consume it. And so I posted about it once and just made a joke like, "Oh, another sleepless night." And so many people were like, "My 4-year old is not sleeping. My
Oh,
2-year old hasn't ever slept in her own bed." Like just so many things where I'm like, "Okay, so we're not the only one who doesn't have sleepless kids, you know,
yeah,
there are other people out there." And it made us not feel so alone and also not like a failure because when you're seeing like article after article, you can do it. I'm sure you can, but when you have a newborn and Andrew's working long hours and then comes home, like the last thing we want to do is sit down and be like, okay, in chapter 2, you know, like
yeah,
so definitely just sharing life has made it easier, but I also try and find the balance of not oversharing because this is our children's lives and you don't know like what is too oversharing, you know. Um,
totally.
but yeah, definitely community has an online community has been so helpful and just so nice.
Yeah, I think it's so beautiful too to just know that you're not alone. Like, sometimes I'll hold on to something that I just feel bad about, like potty training. Like, I was like,
Oh yeah.
there are so many books and programs that, like, do these 3 things and your kid will never pee their pants again. And we were,
Yes.
like, struggling with potty training, and I was like, am I dumb?
Yeah.
Like, am I missing something? It must be me
Yeah.
because everybody else is doing it and it seems to be fine. And then once you really hear that, no, there are other people that are struggling and every kid is different and everybody's situation is different,
Yes.
it just does feel good to know that you're not alone.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, you helped me so much. Like I was telling Andrew everything that you told us about potty training and all, and it's just nice to know, like, okay, we're not the only ones. There's nothing wrong. Like it will
Yeah,
just take time, you know, because yeah, you really think like, okay, something's wrong with me, something's wrong with my kid. Like, what am I gonna do? But it just takes
totally.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so, so good to know that we're not alone. And I think that is definitely a blessing of having an online program now, like Instagram or TikTok
Yeah.
or whatever people use. It's nice to know that there's information out there and that you can feel like you're not the only person. Like, that
Yes.
definitely, to me, as a new mom, was a blessing for sure.
Totally.
My last question for you, Alexa,
Yeah.
is what's one piece of wisdom about motherhood and self-love that you wish that you had known earlier?
Mm. I think don't set expectations, because if we
Mm,
set an expectation for ourselves or for our children or for the outcome of this stage of life, we're going to be disappointed because we don't have any control over this. And it's so crazy to say, but once we realize, okay, we can't control the outcome, we shouldn't set an expectation. I think life gets a little easier. You can obviously set yourself up for success and figure out ways that make you happy and fill your cup in those ways, but
mhm.
yeah, you can't. I don't think you can wake up, okay, I'm going to wake up today at 4:45, do this. Meanwhile, your kids are up all night, someone has a stomach
Yeah.
flu, like not a chance.
Yeah, yeah, expect the unexpected for
Totally.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and just
I
go with the
agree.
flow. And I
Yeah.
think while we're on mat leave too is the perfect time to learn to go with the flow, because we
Mm.
have this time just with our children. I I think my biggest tip would be, don't read all the parenting books. Just read your child, see what their
Oh,
cues are, listen to their little cries, because they tell you a lot, and it's just up to us to listen to them, and again, not expect them to do something that we read or saw elsewhere.
that's so true, and I think to add to that too, something that I learned very quickly as a mom was that a mother's intuition is there for a reason.
Yeah,
Like, you know your children because you were put on this earth to know them. So,
totally.
like, if you feel something or you think something or you wanna do something, like, do it because you're their mom,
Yes. Oh,
you know?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I firmly, firmly believe that.
Yeah.
Well, Alexa, thank you for all of your insight and
Oh,
expertise and
thank
sharing
you.
with us. Usually I end with some rapid fire questions. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Your go-to snack.
Ooh, Oreos.
Mm. Favorite TV show?
Oh, Lioness right now.
Oh, something that you can't live without.
My husband. I
Aw,
should have said my kids, but yeah, no, my husband, because I couldn't do
that's
this
so
without
sweet.
him.
I love that. And a superpower that you wish you had.
Oh, to fly. Oh man, how cool would that be?
It would be so
Yeah.
cool.
What's yours?
Um,
Yours.
oh, my superpower I wish I had? Yeah, maybe like teleportation.
Yes. Love
I
it.
think that would be so cool. Um, so thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you and connect with you?
Oh, thank you. On Instagram, I'm also on TikTok, and I share sometimes on YouTube just little cooking things, but yeah, mostly Instagram.
Amazing. And we'll put that in the show notes so people
Thank
can
you.
find you. Thank you so, so
Thank
much.
you for this platform and for helping moms and letting us navigate through this crazy life under your beautiful podcast.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Your Cup of Joy. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. And if this episode resonated with you, or if you've been loving this show, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you are listening. Your support helps the podcast grow, it helps it reach more people, and it means the absolute world to me. So keep filling your cup with joy, and I will see you next week.